Is someone indicating? All right, it's actually an assignment, so I expect each and every one of us to have looked into it. So I will not appreciate the silence because this is what you ought to have done by now. Okay, so if someone should volunteer, or I will just randomly select anyone. Then, so my question again is, someone should volunteer. Probably give me a context of the nth-child pseudo-class. I gave it as a research assignment, and I expect each and every one of us to at least know a few use cases of the nth-child pseudo-class. Right. Nobody is indicating. Hassan, Tijani. Hassan, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to make my point.
All right. You understood the assignment I gave, right? The research assignment I gave.
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. Did you go through it to see the use case?
Okay. Can I explain, or I should do it with my?
No, don't do it.
Yes.
Just
Okay.
yeah,
The
just
the nth child is like selecting, for example, now if you have a list of items, you can use the nth child to select either the first one, the second one, the third one, and the last element of that child. That is from the parent.
well, yeah, exactly. That's what the nth-child element pseudo class does. Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So knowing what nth-child is, I mean, I'm still going to give a use case in this session. I'm still going to share my screen, then give us other use cases. So just like Hassan said, it is used to give a particular style to a particular child element from a parent div or a parent element, just to select a particular item with the index, right, or the number or the position of that item on that element, and then give a style to it. So that's basically what the nth-child pseudo class is. And I don't know why we are all silent when Alex asked how our day went. I mean, these are one of the things we need to be sharing, right? Couple of times to, so we can accustom ourselves to, normally on a day, pick out time to still go through what you're learning, not only when the class, whenever, not only when it is time for class. So it's good to share these things, and then we can all learn from every other person, right? So yeah, let's get into it. Give me a minute. I'll be sharing my screen. All right, please indicate if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So in our last class, we talked about using the table elements. Remember that? Applying the table elements. We also talked about pseudo classes, right? Using hover, active, hover, visited. We talked about active also Then we talked about a way you can style your list items, or another list or other list, all those things, right? That's the list type position and also the list type. So we talked about use case for font size, width, height, and I also told us to go on our personal practices and try out using the max width and the max height, minimum width and also the minimum height also. But still, we are still going to cover these things sometime, one way or the other. And then we talked about display, the display none, the display inline. We also did display inline block. We also did display flex, which led us to a whole new CSS properties, which is where do we have the display flex here? Yeah, which is the with display flex we can apply other properties like justify content. You can apply gap, and it's not limited to these two. There are more of them. And then I think that's basically what we did in the last class. And today we're going to be doing some advanced CSS techniques. But first, I told us to go and do some research on the nth-child element. So I'm going to apply that use case, but for the table element. Okay, I'm going to apply that use case for the table element. But for me to do that, I would like to increase the items on my table. Probably let me make it about 5. Well, let me add more. Say 7. Okay, so yeah. So we now have 7 items on our table. And using the nth-child pseudo class. Okay, where is our table? This is our table. And all these items, they are under the body, right? This is our T body. So we're going to see where's our, okay, yeah, after T, we're going to have T body. T body, I want to select TR. So this means that there is a child element, that's TR, inside our T body, just like the way it is. And another way to understand the CSS selectors, like in case if it's confusing, you can just hover on it. That's why we use IDEs like VS Code, right? So they have this IntelliSense that will just probably give you a snippet of what you are trying to do, or probably another snippet, yeah, explanation snippet on what you just did, right? Just like I just wrote T-body and TR. If I hover on it, see the snippet that popped up, right? When I hovered, show T-body and TR. So it's just telling me that, yeah, I select TR inside of T-body. So our curly braces open and close. Now, we were talking about the nth-child pseudo class. And this is how to apply nth-child pseudo class. When we are doing pseudo class, remember, use colon, no space after the end of the selection. No space, just put your colon. Then, but this case, we are applying nth-child. Okay. So now let's say 1. Now, nth-child means the number of the child we want to apply this declaration, this CSS declarations to, right? So if I say nth-child 1, it means I want to apply this particular style, whatever style I'm writing here, I want to apply it to the first TR. Okay, that's table row, remember. And the first TR is this one. This is our first TR. that because I said 1, yeah, otherwise it's going to select that number. So if I say background color green, no, let me say gray. Yeah, there's gray. I won't save this yet, yeah, but check our table. This is the first tier, yeah, that's this first row, and I want to apply a particular style to it. This is how to select it. I can either give it a class or just come here and just select the first item. Now when I save, if I come back, you see that the first item here, the background color is gray. All right. I can also come and say, I'll just, probably I want to give another color to the third one. I can, let me say red. That's nth-child red. I'm saying in the third item, in this TR, that's the third TR, apply background red. So if I go back, you see that in the third element, there's background red. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is how to use nth-child. Now it's not only limited to numbers. Okay. You can also say nth-child. Let me just do it again. T-body. I can say odd. Let me comment all these ones. I can say odd. Odd means odd numbers, right? That's 1, 3, right? And then when I say odd, I'm telling the system, the CSS, to select all the odd numbers and apply background color green to it. That's all the elements located in all the odd numbers, right? This is the first element, which is an odd number. Is going to apply background color to it. This second element is not an odd number, right? Because it is 2, and 2 is even. So it's going to come to the third one, which is the next odd number, and apply a background color green to it. Just like that, it's going to do the same thing for 5. It's going to jump 6, apply the same thing for 7. And when I go back, you see that all the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7, they all have background color green. So I can actually say, let me say green. I don't want it to have the same color with the table head. Yeah. So we can see it now, right? So this is mostly for there's some table that might need you to apply different colors or different shades of color for the shade elements or the TRs. So this is how to do it. Okay. Let me say I can actually say even. It's not only odd. I can say even. That's nth-child even. Select all the even numbers, all the elements located in the even number, and then apply background color to gray. So now know that our even starts from 2. So you start applying background color from 2. The next even number is 4. The next even number is 6. Now, if I have other TRs, that's table rows, like aside 7, if it didn't end in 7, like we have 8, 9, 10, yeah, it's going to apply the next one in 8 and next one on 10, just like that. So this is how to use the nth-child pseudo class. And okay, yeah, that's for the nth-child pseudo class. Do I need this? Yeah, I'll leave it. Now we talked about the CSS Flexbox in our last class, right? We talked about the other properties that come with it. Okay, that's the flex direction. Can apply a lot of values for the flex direction. There's column row reverse, and all that, and just file context. So I want to apply this use case on our header. Okay, now I want to expand our header. I don't want our header to just be home, about, project, and I want it to also have my logo. Okay, and for now I don't have an image to use as logo, so I'm just going to like randomly apply a text. So let me say that my logo is, let's say my logo is H2, my logo is JA. I'll still introduce an image for this. Okay, or yeah, my logo is an image. Yeah, when I save, come back. Okay, you see that my logo is a block element, obviously, right? You just go, H2 is a block element. It takes the full width of the screen, and then the other ones came under. Now, for me to do this, I will use that Flexbox properties. If you remember, go to the header element, select it, and then apply your Flexbox properties here. So where's my header element? Okay, I'm not sure I've declared header here. All right, okay. We have header, I call it braces. I'll say display flex. Once I save, it is going to align everything in one row, okay? Now let me give this in a border bottom. I want there to be a demarcation from my header and every other content. I can say border bottom, okay? 1px solid and black. So I think this is the first time we are seeing the border button. We have always been using just border, okay? But when you use just border, it is applying it to both the border at the top, left, right, and bottom, like all the axes, all the sides of that particular element is applying that border. So if I come back, you see that there is border bottom. There's also border at the left. There's border at the top, but it's too close to the hair. You won't see it. There's also border here. Okay, but I want this border to only be at the bottom. So I can just say border bottom. And when I save, yeah, there's only border at the bottom now. Okay. Yeah, you can do the same thing for left, top, right, and yeah, left, top, right, and bottom. Yeah, you can specify the side you want the border to be. And yes, let me add a padding. I want there to be a space. I can say padding 10px. No, this is too much. I can say 5px. Okay, I can work with this. Now, let's use the another property that is exposed by the Flexbox declaration, which is the justify content. Remember, we talked about other properties, and one of them is justify content. But for this case, we are going to use space between. Why am I doing this? If you come to some websites, you notice that the logo is at the left, then the navigation link is far right or somewhere else, no, but not close to the header or to the logo, sorry. Right? So this is how we can achieve that. Yeah, we can say space between. Now, when I save, if I come back, you now see that my logo is here and my links are here. My home, about, projects, and every other links are by the right. So with just this justify content space between, was able to push all the content to the opposite directions. And now there is one other CSS property that we didn't talk about that accompanies or comes with flex. There's a lot of them, yeah, but this one we need it so we can evenly align these items in the center. Now there's a property called align items. Align items, and we're going to say center. Now let me show you what this align item does. So I'm going to create a separate let me just come down here. I'll create a div. This is just to show us how the align item works. I'll just create this div. Let's say item 1. Sorry, 1. And then item 2. Okay. Then I'm going to call this, give it a class of what will I call it? I can call it anything actually. I want to give it a descriptive name. Yeah, anything for now. So when I come all the way to the bottom of my CSS file, I can just select this class. I'll still remove this, that's why it's like this. I'll select this class, dots. Okay, Now I want to select the first. I'm going to use nth-child here, so we're going to master the use cases, right? I'll just select the first item. This particular element has two children, and they are both divs, right? So I can come here after the dots, the name of the class, then space. I can say div. This div is the one inside the element. Then nth-child 1. Now I'm selecting item 1, right? I'm going to give it a background color of red. Then I'm going to give it a width 100 px, then height, let's say 200 px. Then I'll do the same thing, but for the nth-child of let me just copy this, right? But for the nth-child of 2, that's the second item, item 2. I can say background color green. And when I come back to my just all the way bottom, yep. Now I'll need only this class so that I can apply the display flex. But first, let me give it a margin top of 20 px. Just want there to be space here. Fine. All right. Now let me apply the display flex property. Display flex. Okay. All right. Now for us to understand how this align item works here, I'm going to give these two elements different heights. The first element is 200 px. Let me give the second element 100 px. Okay. Yeah, we can see that these items are different heights now, right? And they are both in the flex box because the parent element has display flex. Now, to understand the use case of align items mostly aligning items on the, it's just like positioning items in the middle or whatever position I want to give it. But this works under flex. Now I can say align items. Let me say flex start. Nothing will change because flex start is the default value. Flex start means this is the start. The top is the start. The bottom is the end. Then when you say center, it's going to position everything in the center. All right. Now flex start is the default. If I change it to end, you see that this item 2 will come all the way to the bottom. Now when I save, go back, you see that the item 2 came to the bottom. Now it is positioning all the elements. If I have other ones, well, let me even do item 3. Item 3. Now I'll duplicate this. Or I'll call this nth-child. I'll call it 3. So let me give it 150. If I come back, what happened? Okay, I haven't saved this. Now if I come back, this is purple. Yeah, you see that everything is positioned to the end. So the system is assuming this particular bottom is the end of my flex. So every items in the flex or in that flex box will be aligned to the end. Now, if I say start, all of them will go to the starting position. Let me do that start again. So if I say start, see everything aligned to the start. But then when I say center, you see that everything is positioned in the center. It's equally, like, evenly positioned in the center. So that's why we needed something like this here. Initially, without this, I'm going back to the header now. If I comment out the justified between, if I comment out the center, if I come back, you see that this is not actually aligned to the center. You see that the home, all these links, they are all at the top. If I make this thing, this JA bigger now, let me make this thing H1 instead of H2. If I come back, you see it's very big now, okay? And these links are positioned at the top. That's the flex start. right? But I don't want them to be there. I want them to be in the middle. Now, if I bring back align items center and save, you see now they are all positioned in the middle. So this is the height of the JA. Now home about I position in the middle. Now I will now push it to opposite direction with just 5 contents, space between. Okay. Now I'll take my JA back to H2. All right. So this is how to use align items in the CSS Flexbox. All right. Another thing we have to do today is, we understood this, right? Yes, I believe we do. Another thing we need to do is, let me take out this. This was just an example. I'll bring back our items. So we are going to talk about colors. All right, colors. We have let me bring back. So we have many ways of representing colors in our CSS. Okay, we have many ways of representing colors in our CSS. If you notice, we have just been using the color name. We will say black, white, red, green, purple, like just the name that, okay, we are randomly familiar with, right? But there are other ways you can represent colors in CSS. Okay, wait, is this really? All right, let me zoom in. This is the farthest I can go. All right. We have other ways of representing colors in CSS. So we have the color names, which is the one we are familiar with already. Color names, which can be black. Sorry, I'm not writing this black well. Black, blue, etc. Right? This is the one we have been using. Okay. So we are familiar with this one already. But the other one, another way we can select colors is RGB. And RGB means red, green, and blue. Okay. So we can also select colors or apply our colors using RGB, red, green, and blue. And how to do that? You're just going to say RGB, comma, open and close the brackets, 0, 0, 0. It can be any value. But let me, sorry, not sure this is clear here. Hope this is 0, 0, 0. So the first part of this is the red, that's R. The second part is green, that's G. Sorry. And the third part is blue. Sorry. All right. So we have RGB. The first part is red, second part is green, and the third part is blue. And each of these parts can be represented by numbers from 0 to 255. All right. You cannot go below 0. You cannot go above 255. Numbers that you can represent inside these three areas is either is going to be within 0 to 255. So this 0 to 255 just it defines the intensity of the color, right? So 0 is like no color, right? Like there's just the 0 value of that color, right? And then 255 is the highest value of that color. Now, if we want to use this, let's apply this in this black. Instead of using black, where do we, this is item C, right? Where is this item again? Oh, you know what? Let me create another one. There's no harm in that. I'm going to name this text RGB, all right? And then I can just, in the class, I can say RGB. That's the class I'm giving it. So if I want to select it, I can call it anything, please. If I want to select this class, I'll just .rgb. Then let me apply a background color. Background color. Now instead of me writing black, blue, white, or any other thing, I'll just say RGB. Okay. Remember, the color you're applying must be within 0 to 255. So we can put anything. But first, let's put 000. Okay. Now when I go back, yeah, this is actually the color here. This is the black. You know what? Let me give it a margin top so we can margin top and margin bottom. Margin top 20 px. Margin bottom 20 px. Now when I come, so this is actually the bar. If you want to know, you can just say a color, give it a color to white. So we can see the text inside. Remember, we wrote a text that says RGB, right? Now when I come back, I'm going to see the text that says RGB. But this is the background color, and the background color is black. So this is how to represent black using RGB 000. It means the red, green, and blue are in their lowest form, and that is black. Okay. Now, if it is in the highest form, that's 255, it's definitely going to assume the opposite of black, which is white. Now, since we have white as the color, let's apply RGB here. That's the highest value. We will not say 255, comma 255 of green, comma 255 of blue. That's the highest value of green, highest value of red, green, and blue. Okay. Now when I go back, wait, did I save? Oh yeah, that's the color now. Yeah, that's just the color. So which means yeah, the color is still white. Okay. So that's another way to represent your colors. And then if I want to select only red, if I want to apply only red with RGB, remember the first item is red. So which means I'm going to leave it in its highest intensity, that's 255. But every other thing is going to be 0. I don't want to apply green to the color palette. I don't want to apply green to the color combination or anything. So for green, I'm going to set it to 0. For blue, I'm going to set it to 0. So which means I'm only selecting red. Now when I save, go back, you see that my text changes to red. Same thing with every other color in between. If you want to do for green, you can only apply the 255 for green, then every other one will be 0. And you can have multiple combinations actually. You can have multiple combinations between 0 to 255. So yeah, this is how to use your RGB. And then there is another thing that comes with RGB. Okay, there is RGBA. Let me say background color, set it to RGB. Then there's extra value, A. I'm going to tell us what A is. A means alpha. All right, it means alpha, and alpha in coloring is mostly will you say the opacity, or like how faint is that color. And alpha can range from, let me just write it. Color alpha can range from 0 to 1. Okay, 0 to 1. There's a lot of combination between 0 to 1. We have 0 0.0, 0.5, 0.255, 0 point every other thing, right? So before you reach 1, then we have 0.9 before you then get to 1. So that's the fourth value. That's if you want to use alpha, but it's not compulsory, right? It's probably when you want to apply a little faint to the color. but the default is RGB. Now with alpha, let's see what we have. 0, 0, 0. Yeah, that's our red, green, and blue. Then remember, 1 is the default value for alpha. If it is 1, it means it is the highest, right? It is like that peach color. There's no fin to it. Now, when I come back, my background color is still going to remain black because my alpha is set to 1. I didn't reduce it. It is the highest form. Now, when I reduce my alpha to any other thing outside 1, let me say, remember it's 0 to 1, right? Any other value you can find from 0 to 1 is 0.5. If I say 0.5 alpha, if I come back, you see that the black is a little bit faint. So it's taking a form of gray, right? Just applying making that color a little bit transparent. All right, now it's blending with the background color. If I take it all the way to 1, it will almost be white. If not, take back to 1, you can see here. So it's now very, very transparent. We can see through it, and the background color is white, so we can see through it, and it's mixing with the color. So this is how to use the alpha value. Okay, we can actually add it on the color to see. The color is RGB, the red, right? Now, if you add alpha, remember, put your A after RGB, then in the value part, comma, can use any other one, can say 0.2. This is thick red. Now, when I say 0.2, come back, you see that the red is a little bit faint. Okay, so this is how to use the alpha value. Now we're talking about the alpha value. I hate the fact that this gray is too thick. So let me apply the alpha to it, right? This is our TR. All the way to our TR. This is where it is, background color gray. Now instead of using gray, I'm going to apply the RGB. And gray is the middle of white and black, right? That's where you find gray. And from 0 to 255, the middle value is 128, I think, right? Yes, I think the middle value is 128. So I'm going to apply 128 per column. Now let me remove this 255. Now when I come back, exactly, we still have gray because that's the RGB combination of gray. But then I want to apply alpha to it. I want to put opacity to it. Now to put opacity, I'm just going to include the A after RGB. Then for the value, I'm going to say like 0.5. Yeah, now you see, it is there, but it is not that obvious, right? Let me reduce it a little bit. I'll come back. Yeah, it is gradually blending, but let me leave it at 5. We can totally understand what this, yeah. So that's for RGB and also adding opacity to RGB. We can actually do all these things in the green, red, and every other thing, but I'll leave it to us to, change. So we have another way we can apply CSS colors. There is hexadecimal. Hexadecimal, or short for hex. Okay, hexadecimal is written in this form with hash. Then the first two values, hexadecimal is like 6 characters. Yeah, and the first two value is red, that's RR. The second two value is green, that's GG, and the third one is blue, that's BB. Okay, and this RRGGBB can range from that. You can replace the value from anything that's 00 to FF. So this RRGGBB can contain any number from 0 to F. 0 to F means 0 to 9. Yeah. Then A, B, C, D, E, F. That's where you end. If you are going to represent, you cannot put G when you're using hexadecimal. So the number can be any number from 0 to 9. It's going to be 6 characters, remember. Any number from 0 to 9, and then any letter from A to F. That's how to represent the hexadecimal, or in short for hex. Now let's do this for Let me apply another. Let me put another div. Sorry. We can call this hex colors, anything. And then in the class, I'm going to give it a class that says hex color. Okay, can call it anything, but let's use hex color. Now to use hex, we'll just give it our select it. Then yeah, let's do the margin top, margin bottom. Sorry, this thing filled it out. Okay. Okay. Now let's see where we have it. Scroll the way bottom. Now we have the hex color here. Okay. Let's apply a background color. Remember, we're using a hex value now. So if I'm applying a background color, let's say hash. Remember, that's how it starts with F. 00, that's 00 for red, 00 for green, and then 00 for blue. So which means it's black, because everything is taking the form of everything is taking their lowest form or lowest intensity. Now when I go back, you see that the background color is black. Let me give it white, the color, just the color, white, so we can know that this is what we're talking about. Now I'm no more using, I won't use any other, I won't apply the name white. I'll just say hash. This is how to apply white. F is the highest value, right? That's the highest intensity you can get. You cannot get past F. So if you want it to be white, you can say FF, FF, and then FF. That's highest form. The first two is the highest form of red. Second two is the highest intensity for green, and the last two is highest intensity for blue. So it's going to take white. Now when I come back, yeah, you can see it is white. All right. So this is how to use the hex color. And if you want to select red, yeah, remember the first value is red, right? The first two value is red. So we can remove the second two and the last two and replace it with 0. So first two is F, that's the highest intensity. Then the second two, which is green, we give it 0, that's the lowest intensity. Then the last two, which is blue, we give it 0 again. That's the lowest intensity. So it's not going to only focus on the first value with the highest intensity, that's red. Now when I go back, it's going to change to red. Now one other thing about colors, right, is you must not know how to, like, position the alphabet and the numbers or anything. It's fine. I mean, there's millions of combination you can get with these ways of applying colors in CSS, right? So another way to go about this is you can just, VS Code made it easier for us, right? You can just hover on the color. This panel will pop up. All right, this panel will pop up. Whenever any color you hover on, you see this panel. Any other one, you're going to see it. I don't know if I'll call this panel. Even the ones we name, if you hover on them, it's going to show this. The same thing with every other one. It's going to show this. Now, whenever it shows this, you can actually tweak your color from here. Now, let me do it on the last one. The last one is hex. So when I hover on this red, I can actually change it to RGB, right? Just come to that first one, this first bar here, if you can see my mouse. This is the first bar. Just click on it. It's going to, there's HSL actually, but don't worry. RGB, hex, and the color name is enough for now. You get to understand every other ways of every other ways of using this HSL, even the HWB on the long run. But then you can just choose, when you click on it, change to the next color. Next way you can apply the color. Just click on it, you see multiple ways you can apply the color. It's not changing, the value is not changing, the color is not changing, it's just the syntax that is changing. So I've changed it to red. This is it. If I hover on it again, I can click on it, it will select the hex value. This is the hex value. Also, I can only do this, I can do other things. I can actually select color. Just click and drag here, okay? I can click and drag. I want to go somewhere here. I'll leave it here. That's FC9A9A. I don't know the name of this color, but it is fine. Now, when I come back, you see the color. This is something a little bit light pink, right? This is the color here. When I hover on it again, well, let me do it on the background color. Hover on it, the background color, see where black is, if you can see it. This is white all the way to this edge. By the left, this is black all the way to this edge. By the left, so that's the bottom left, and then the top left, that's white. But then you can only do this. You can actually, sorry, you can actually come and drag your palette to see other color options we have. And actually drag. Here is red. We have yellowish, greenish, bluish, and then purplish, and then we have red again. So you can even land anywhere you want, and then use this to, you know, play around and choose any color of your choice. Okay, it is fun. Yeah, it's fun. And then let's go back. You see the color here. This is the color we selected. So yeah, that's basically it about colors. Any question before we move into the next topic? Okay, Emmanuel.
Please, I'm good with the lecture, but I'm concerned about the attendance form. When I go to the chat box, I can't find it there.
Oh yes. Okay. Well, let me reach Alex immediately. I will drop the link once I get it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Hassan.
Yeah, sir. I don't know if you're, I like the last class concerning the max width, mean width, max height, and mean height. I don't know if you can throw more light on that because I'm still finding it difficult to understand the difference between them, and maybe you can also tell us how when to use the max width and mean width also.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I'll be giving an example after this.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Latino Ike. Yes, Latino, you have your hand raised. Okay.
Yes, sir. I said I just want to plead on behalf of myself and others that have not submitted the last assignment. I didn't finish it on time because I was struggling with some part of it. I don't know if it can be open for submission again.
No. The assignment dates or the due dates has passed, and I've always said this: if you have any issue submitting your assignments, bring it up early enough before the due date. That's the only time I can help, right? Any other thing outside that, it's no, you won't be able to submit again. But I will still advise you go ahead and do it. If you have any questions still, ask me, I'll attend to it. But when it comes to submitting it, that's gone. All right. So please mute your mic, Emmanuel. All right, give me a minute. I'm trying to get the attendance form. All right. All right, so once I get the response, I'll share it on here. So let's talk about the max width and height. Okay. Let's talk about the max width and height. Jairus, you asked how to make my website fit in different screens. We'll be talking about that on Saturday in our next class. We are going to be discussing responsiveness, how to make your website fit in all platforms, both on PCs, tablets, and mobile phones. So stay tuned. And okay, let's do this. Max width and height. Now, if I have a div, I mean, And then I have, let me say, class name. Let me give it, well, let me say max, just max size. The next, the one is going to be min size. So for this, if I, let's say I have a content in this div. Come on, let me generate a content and post there. This place. So this is the contents that I have. I'll just add it here. Okay, yeah, this is the content. It's a lot, right? Now, when I go to my, yeah, this is all the content, okay? I will tell my system, I will tell the CSS, this is the class name, that this particular element, apply a max width. A max width of, let's say 20 px. Okay, this is the highest width this particular element can go. Okay, now when I come back, you see that it is, let me give it a background color so you can see it in action. Background color of red. Then when I come back, you see what is happening here. It is taking the this is the highest with this particular container can go. So if any content inside is trying to break it, it's going to just forcefully add it to the next line. And if I, let me just give it a more reasonable value that we can work with. Okay, let me say 100 px. Okay, let me say 50 px. All right. So this is 150 px. I don't know if I can mark this somehow. I don't know if I can somehow mark this so that now if I reduce the content here, let me just reduce the content here to only lorem. I just want to leave only this lorem. Of course, see where lorem is, right? This is where lorem is. So when I remove this every other content, I leave only lorem. I'm expecting this particular container with background red to go and wrap only this lorem because that's the only content I now have. Now when I save, come back. Wait. Let me give it a margin so it can be more obvious. Margin top 20 px and then margin bottom 50 px. So now you can see here, it is assuming this is the highest width it can go. It can never go past this one. So when you're having, when you have a container that this will also work when you are using when we'll be applying this responsiveness design by next class, right? You can set a particular container or a div or an element particular, telling that this is the highest it can go. So no matter the screen you go, it will shrink itself to that screen. Okay. Now since we are talking about this, I think I'll just do this then. There's a way you can inspect your elements. You can inspect elements. Just right click on your browser, right click, then you choose inspect. Once you do this, you're going to see your HTML. The first bar you see here is the HTML. The one under is the CSS. You can see, make sure CSS is selected here. This is your CSS. So any style you have, you'll be able to see it here. These are all our HTML. This is just a way for you to inspect your code in case if you are debugging. We'll still get to that part. With this inspect tool also, we can also apply responsiveness, like, make sure that whatever design we have is responsive across all devices and platforms, right? And to do that, see this mobile and laptop icon here. Make sure it is checked. Make sure it is blue. I don't know the color is going to be on your system. I think mine is, what color is this? Is it light blue, right? Or purple, light purple. Well, let's call it blue, light blue. Then Make sure this is checked. If it's not checked, this is how it's going to look. Everything is just going to look normal, just this by the right. But if it is checked, you're going to see this panel here. This panel at the top. With this panel, you can select the particular screen you want to test for. If you click on this dimensions responsive, you'll see iPhone SE, iPhone XR, iPhone 12 Pro Max. You're going to see every other designs, every other devices. You can see iPod Pro. If I click anyone, let me click on Samsung Galaxy S8. When I click on it, it's going to assume the width of Samsung Galaxy. Okay. We're still going to talk more on this. Sorry that I'm bringing it up now, but it's good to know it beforehand also. So now, why I came here is because of the max width. But for us to understand it, I need to clear every other thing. Okay. Let me just delete it entirely. I'll bring it back. I just want to do a demo. So now we only have this max size. This is the only thing here. Okay. Now let me give it a max width. Let me give it a more, let me say 450, like highest, or 300. Now when I come back, this is it, right? Now, if I start shrinking, just if you want to do what I'm doing, make sure you are checked on the responsive. If you're checked on your phone, uncheck it. Go back, click on responsive. All right. When you click on responsive, you're going to see this draggable icon here. Click and drag. All right. Now, when I'm dragging, once my this thing is zooming out. Okay, I hope this works, honestly. Let me give it a more. Let me increase this. How do I do this? Okay, yeah, pardon. Yeah, this is good. Let me use border box. I'll explain what I'm doing in our next class. Oh, sorry. Then inspect. No, I don't wait, let me see. 100% precise. Why is it not obeying me today? So what I'm trying to do here is when I set a max width, okay, if this particular container reaches a particular width, that's the highest. So which means it can go and it can take another width less than the max width. The max width is 300px. So when I'm resizing or whenever that particular content is shrinking, when it reaches 3px, that's the highest it can go. It can go lesser. It can take another form that is less than 300px. This is different between max width and width. When I say width, I am saying whatever screen you are on, take with 300px. Don't go lesser, don't go higher. So wherever you find yourself, take 300px. But when I say max width, it means once the screen size or whatever, whenever the platform you are on has gotten to 300px, you can take another width less than 300px because that it has gotten to the highest, so you can take another form less than 300px. The same thing with height. When I say max height, I am saying the content, this is the highest you can go. Okay, this is the highest height you can go. So if you get to another screen that has this height, you can go lesser, right? Just to accommodate that particular content. But if you say height, you're only telling it wherever you find yourself, take this particular height. But with max height, it is different. we are going to apply this properly in the next class when we're talking about responsiveness. So then when you say mean, sorry, let me just revert. Let me just clear everything here. Zoom. All right. So when I say mean width, it means this is the minimum width it can take. So which means it can go higher than 300 px. I set minimum width to 300 px, right? This is the minimum width. This is here. That's why this is not working. Remove this width. Yeah, you can see what just happened. It took the whole screen because the system is telling it you can go higher than 300 px. Minimum width is your springboard, or like that's where you're starting from. That's the lowest you can go. Or you can assume any other height, any other width, sorry, above 300 px. Yeah, there are cases when this is going to be applied, but in most times you will not be using it for responsiveness. But there is when you are getting a content that you don't know the actual value or actual volume of that content. Probably when you're integrating backend, this is when you're going to be applying things like mean width and mean height. Also, the max width and max height also they will come in handy. And these two properties, they will play a major role in our next class when we're talking about responsiveness. So, Hassan, I'm sorry, I was not able to like give a clear definition, but in our next class, we'll focus basically on responsiveness. We're going to build a platform that will work on tablets, your phones, and also on big sizes, on big screens. Yes, Hassan?
Yes, I now understand the differences now. So it's clear to me very well now, sir. Thank you very much.
All right.
Right.
I'm glad you understand it now. Okay, but still, we'll still be talking about it in our next class. So yeah, that is that. All right. In the absence of no other questions, let's talk about CSS positioning. CSS position. So yeah, we have another property, CSS property called position, right? This is used to, position your elements on the body or anywhere you want it to be on your browser. So example is, let's say we have different values for, let me say position. No, this will not be relative. Position. So we have a lot of value. We have absolute, we have fixed, we have relative, we have static. Static is the default. So any element you have on your HTML by default, the positioning is static. So even if we say position static, nothing will change. Okay. So we have position relative. Sorry. Relative. This is mostly applying an element, making it relative to the to itself. Okay, so that every other content is going to depend on it when you are putting your positions. We'll see the use case when we progress. And then we have fixed. This is to fix a particular element on the browser. Now, if I set this position to fixed, sorry, wait, why am I making a mistake? Position fixed. And then when I get to my, okay, let me add it on this S colors. Where's our S colors again? This is S colors. Let me change this. I want it to be a little bit thicker. Okay, can still use this. Okay, this is our S color. When I say position field, so if I add in the class, add the same style that I gave it a position field. If I save, where's our S color again? Okay, I think we need to give it a value to show. Let me say top. 0. Okay, now we can see our hex colors here. It is now fixed on the browser. Okay, it is fixed on the browser. Wait, why was it not showing it there? Okay. So actually positioning comes with other properties like top, bottom. We have top, we have bottom, we have left, we have right. These are just taking values. Wait. So these are taking any values from wherever that particular item is on the page, right? So here at the topmost is 0. So why it is actually not at the very top, it's not looking at the very top, is because we gave it a margin top. Now if I remove that margin top, see this margin top here. If I copy out this margin top in our hex color, if I come back, you see that, yeah, it is now at the very top because I set the top to 0. Let me comment out these ones. Now, I can actually set it to 10px. If I set it to 10px, it will just give 10px space from the top. I can actually give it a left. Say left, take also 10px by the left. You see, there's 10px by the left. So this comes in handy when you want to like have a particular element that is fixed on the browser. You can see that I'm scrolling, but it's not moving. Okay, it's just fixed at that top. So sometimes you might come to a website that have a jump to the top or something like that. Let's have another div. Say jump, or yeah, jump to the top. Now come and say yeah, I'm still position fixed. Position fixed, but I'll put another thing to it. I'll say bottom. Now here I'm now saying position fixed. Okay, still. But now I'm not going to give it a top. I don't want it to be at the top. I want it to be at the bottom. So I will say bottom 0. Now, if I copy this thing that I have here, if I come back, here's my jump. See my jump to bottom here. It is part of the normal element that scrolls. But when I give it a class of position fixed bottom, if you come back, you see that it is now sticked to the bottom. All right, and is very close because we set the bottom to 0. If I say 10px, yeah, this is now 10px. Now I want it to be at the right, okay, at the far right. I can just say right 10px. Now it's at the right. So if I scroll, no matter where I am, it's going to be at the very bottom. That's how to use the fixed position. And then we have other ones. We have absolute. We have absolutes. Let me give this a background color. Background color of hash FFFFFF. Yeah, it's going to take white. So where we are, it's going to be there. So some sites, if you click on it, let's say you have scrolled to the bottom. If you click on it, it will scroll you back to the top. This is with JavaScript. We are going to get there. All right, let's do position absolute. Position absolute. So let's create a div. So position absolute is mostly it does the same thing as fixed, but fixed is positioned in the body, like it is relative to the body. When you say position fixed any element, it is relative to the body. This is the body, right? This is the whole body. So this is relative. This is what is depending on to position itself. But position absolute does the same thing, but this one is only relative to its container. Okay. Now let's say we have another div here that has another div inside of it, and this div is a text that says I am absolute, I am position absolute. Well, let me say this. Yeah, I'm position absolute, right? Now, if I give this particular element an absolute position, it's going to be relative to this guy. So it's just going to place itself anywhere I set it to place, anywhere I set it to be in this particular parent element, because this is the parent element. And for this to happen, we have to give the parent a relative position. Okay. Now say class name. I'll call this position relative. Sorry, relative. And then I'm going to say class name position absolute. Okay, this is how to use position absolute. Now, when I apply this class, okay, yeah, this is, I've already applied the class, and I say position absolute. Now, let's see where this thing is. Let me give this position relative a color. Dot position relative, and give it a color of hash 00FF00. That's blue. Oh, sorry, that's green. And then I can give padding of 20px. Now, when I come back, this is, you can see that it is relative. I've not set a, I've not told you where to go yet. I just said position absolute. I've not told it, are you going to the right or left, right? So it's just going to be part of this particular element. It's going to be inside this element, so wherever I position it. Now, if I want to do that position, I can just say top 0. Wait. Let me see. Why is this happening? Position. Oh. Okay. Now see, I am absolute. See where it is. See, I'm absolute here. This is it. And why it is here is, it's just setting itself here. It's relative to the body. But why it is disobeying this guy is because I've not actually given this position relative a position set relative. If you check the selector, I only set background color and padding. Okay. But when I tell it become a relative parent by setting position relative, any other thing inside will obey the parent. Now, when I go back, we'll see that I'm absolute here. So it's now obeying this parent. But fixed, this disobeys everything. Fixed just takes wherever it wants to go. It just is related to the body. But absolute, you can make it related to the parent. That's the parent div. Now I can say yeah, top 0, then set it to say right 0. So I want it to take 0px to the right. Now when I save, it's going to go to the right. 0px to the right. And I can actually give it a bottom of 0. But if I want this bottom of 0 to work, I need to comment out this. Then when I go back, you can see it is now at the bottom by the right. So this is how to like position elements anywhere on the container. Now this tree that is here, I can actually give it a absolute positioning. Probably I don't want it to be, I want it to be by the bottom or by here or by this place or at this place. Yeah. I can just set the parent container, which is this dark green, set it to position relative. Then for this tray, I'm going to set it to position absolute. Then use my top left and bottom to place it wherever I want to place it. So yeah, that for position. Remember, we have fixed, we have relative, we have absolute. We also have a static, and I told you that static is the default one. So any element that you apply position static, nothing changes. Okay. And then there is one last position value, and that one is position sticky. No, sticky. So position sticky means I still want this particular element to be part of the DOM, like part of the HTML. Like when I'm scrolling, it should still scroll. But when it gets to the top, it should stick to the top. Or wherever you set the position to be, it will just stick there. All right. So this particular CSS declaration properties mostly used for your headers. You can actually use fixed position for your headers. You can also use sticky position for your headers. But most time people use sticky. Most time people use fixed. Just depends on the use case. Now, I want my header to stick. Like it is scrolling. Like when I scroll, it should just stick. So wherever I'm scrolling, it should still be on the top. Now I can come and say, go to my header. This is my header. I'll give it a class of position sticky because that's the class name I gave it here. When I come back, it does nothing because I've not set where it's going to be. So I want it to be at the top. I will just say top 0. Now when I scroll, you can see that my header is stick to the body. Now let me just give it a background color. Where I have a header tag already. Set a background color to #FFFFFF. Now go back. Yeah, we can now see our header at the top. Let me remove these hex colors. I'll just remove the position fixed here, since we already have a use case for this. Now we can see that my header is stick to the top. It is still part of the DOM because there is space here. If I gave this thing fixed, there won't be space here. This John Adibe will be under. It will be like DOM will not recognize it as an element to obey the other one. Like any other element will not obey it. It will just come at the top. But with sticky, it is still going to be part of the DOM. But then whenever it gets to the top, it will just stick. Another use case is, let's say we have padding in our body. Let's say we have padding top. Padding top set to 50 px. Now you can see that the padding top is set to 50 px. Now if I'm scrolling, you are seeing that my header is scrolling, right? If I scroll, my header will scroll. My header will scroll. But when my header gets to this very top to stick, yeah, that's gotten to the top, so it's not sticky. That stick to the top. But when I scroll down, it will all scroll down. Like even if I have that element somewhere here, once the element gets to the top of the page, it will stick. That's how position sticky works. And that's all for CSS positioning. I'll reiterate what we have. We have fixed, we have relative, we have absolute, we have sticky. It's good to know all these ones so you can apply them when you need them. Know the use cases when you need them. Any question? No question? Okay, yeah, for those asking for the attendance form, you can check the chat box now. We have it on there. So please do fill the form. All right, so that's it for the positions. And then we have another CSS variables. All right, this is mostly like a way for you to declare value on your CSS file. Just probably declare a value that you want to reuse. If you notice, we have been using colors single-handedly. Yeah, we're just using color, like applying color everywhere we want. Now, if we are using or if we are building a theme-based application or a website, when you change the theme from white or from light mode to dark mode, you want all the colors to change at once, right? And if you're the developer and then you want to, what is it called? If you're a developer and you want to change all the colors at once, you will not come and be changing all this color one by one. Like the value, the implementation you're going to write will not even cover for this. Even if it does, it's going to be very, very expensive. So with CSS variables, we can just declare a value somewhere and then reuse it. So whenever we change it at that place we declared it, it is going to affect every other place we're using that value or that CSS particular variable. So how to use this is to say you can say no, I can't write it. So with okay, yeah, let me just do it this way. Let's say I have my primary color, primary, yeah, primary color. We are building a website that has a primary color. You want to set the primary color to, let me just finish this. This is throwing error because this is not how you're going to write it. So to write something like this, there's a selector, sorry. As a selector, we have just like a pseudo. Is this still a pseudo class selector? But this pseudo is for HTML. So when you don't specify anything and just write :root, we are appending this particular variable to the HTML gone, like the HTML file. That's this one. This is where we're applying this particular variable. Why we're doing this is because we want to reuse it across all other extensions that we have. We have HTML, we have CSS. We're also going to have JavaScript. So I want to be able to use these values on my JavaScript. Let's say I want to change the color, change the mode of the website. It's from JavaScript, we're going to apply that, right? So yeah, put :root, that's your targeting the root element, which is HTML, and then you can now apply your variables. Primary color, then secondary color. This is how to write your variable, sorry. So you start with double hyphen, then whatever name you're going to call it. There must not be hyphen here. This hyphen is just for me to demarcate it. I can say primary color altogether or anything entirely, like however I want to write it. Okay. But for you to declare variables, you're going to start with double hyphen. Then once you're done doing this, you now write the value you want to put. Okay. All right. It's not limited to colors. You can use it for units also. I can have I can say header height. I can just have something that says header height 50px. Probably I want to target header height from other elements. I can just apply this and then say 50px. No, the asterisk doesn't do the same thing with the root. Jairus, I don't know if I'm answering your question. Asterisk selects all elements, every element you have. All the elements, like every element you have, is just going to apply this thing by default. That's for asterisk. But roots will target just the HTML so that you can reuse it on every other part of the code base. What you have in this particular asterisk, you cannot use it in JavaScript. Any value you have there, you cannot use it in JavaScript. So CSS variables is good. It's best practice to add it at the top line. That's the first element or the first CSS declaration you're going to have. So it's best to have it here, okay? So that every other declarations that want to use it will just pick it. Remember, CSS is read from top to bottom. They have declared it at the top. You're now reusing it at the bottom. Now, to use these CSS variables, I'll just come here and say, so if I want to change this background color to white, so I can say, it was white before, right? I can say this is how to call it. Var means variable. Open and close a curved braces. Remember, this is curved braces. And then you now write the name of that you're setting primary color. So this is how to declare CSS variables, and this is how to consume it or use it on a particular property. You write it here in that property, you call it with var variable curved braces, then the name you give it, that's primary color. Now when I go back, I'll see that my background color is now, what's this color? Light pink, right? Other ones are just taking their own color because I give them their own color to choose, right? The background color is now like light pink. Now I can just say background. So I want to have another color for my backgrounds. Then sorry, set it to FFFFFF, which is white. So instead of primary color, I'm going to have background. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it. Then for me to use primary color, I will just look for probably another place that is in it. Let's say my H2, which is my logo. I want my logo to have my primary color. I can give it a class of logo. Then come here and say dot logo color var, open and close your curved braces, then primary color. All right. Now, when I go back, you can see that my JA is taking the primary color. This is the primary color here. Then my secondary colors can be my button. Okay, just like this, you can, give everything. You can change all these colors. Just declare the color here, then change every other thing to use the var CSS variables. Now with this, if you change the value here, you don't need to come and be changing it again one by one in each place you declared that particular CSS or the selector. You will just change it here and it's going to affect on every other place that is consuming that variable. Any question? No question. Okay. All right. So let's talk about one more thing. CSS transitions. CSS transitions. So this is like mostly a way to put a little bit delay or a smooth transitions or just a smooth animation, probably not an animation, but a smooth change of values in your CSS. If you come to some websites, you might see how when you hover on something, you see that the color changes gradually, like you see the animation coming up, right? So with CSS transitions, we can actually make use of these properties. Okay. Now let's apply this thing on this particular CSS property on our download CV. This is a good place to use it. Now you can see that it's changing immediately. It's fine, but then it is a little bit overwhelming because the colors are just popping up immediately, right? So I want to put a little bit transition to these colors that are popping up. Okay. Now let me target my button. That's the download CV button. Where do we have the button? Yeah, this is the download CV button. Let me just target it. Oh, there's no need. I can just add it from here, right? But I would like to have it. Well, I can add it from here. You can see the only things changing. The only thing changing here is the color, the background color, and the border color. All right, the color, background color, and border color. So with CSS transition, we can just target only the colors. Okay, so we can say first property is transition property. Okay, here you can select all. That's everything, both the width and the height and the colors and every other thing, all the colors. So all by default is selecting every value or every CSS declaration that you have under download CV. The next CSS property is transition duration. I want this particular transition to last for 2 seconds. All right. I want it to last for 2 seconds. Now, when I come back, if I hover, you see it gradually changing. All these things are happening between 2 seconds. See, it gradually changes color. Now, when I click, it will gradually change. If I stop clicking, to change back to the hover effect. When I click again, okay. So this is it in action. Well, this is just selecting all. You can actually select a particular one that you want. You can just select let's say you want this thing to only happen for the color, and just say color. So with this property, you can add the property gone, like the color thingy gone, yeah, and the color is white. When it's over, it's white. When it is active, it is purple, right? So I'm only selecting color, and I want the transition to be applied only on the color. Now everything is just going to happen quickly, but the color will take its time. Now when I hover, I see everything changed immediately, but the download CV took some time before it changed from black to white. Now if I stop hovering, so I can select other ones. I want to select background color too. Just type it out, the name of the property that you want to transition. Put it down, then come back. See that the background color also, but the border is not. So this is just a way. You can actually add border too, or just say border color, since you only want the border color. When you come back, everything will work. Everything that have color in it will work. That's the color, background color, and then border color. When I click, it gradually changes. All right, so, well, there are other properties that comes with transition. We have a transition timing function. This one is just to, like, make the timing a little bit dynamic. There's a lot of properties. There is ease out. Yeah, these are them here. There is ease. There is ease in. There is ease in and out. There is ease out. There is also linear. Other ones, you can try them at your convenient time. Ease in and out, let's see. It just takes a little bit time before it starts and takes a little bit time before it ends. So it takes time to start, and when it's ending, it takes a little bit time to end. So it's counting everything from just creating a fraction from these 2 seconds. We have other one. We have ease in. So ease in is as it's entering, that's in. Take your time, but as you're ending, just follow the normal fractions of the second. So when I hover, it takes the time to start. If I stop, it just goes back. Takes the time to start then. So yeah, there's a lot of them. You can play with them. Then linear is just like everything, no different, just starting with the same speed, ending with the same speed, and everything. So yeah, and then there's another property. We have transition delay. Probably want to put a delay to it. You don't want it to start immediately. You can set the delay to any value. So the S means seconds, okay? So 2 seconds. I can set delay to 1 second. So take 1 second, sorry, before you start transitioning. Now, when I hover, it doesn't transition until after 1 second. If I stop hovering, it doesn't transition until after 1 second. So you can see that, right? Now, let me make it a little bit obvious. Let me say 5 seconds. Now, when I hover, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, before it now starts transitioning. If I stop hovering, it will take 5 seconds again before it goes back to the original color. The same thing happens when I click. If I click, it doesn't do anything until after 5 seconds. So yeah, that's for the transition delay. So these 4 properties are what we probably will be using or coming in handy when you are working with transitioning. And it's not only for colors. You can use it for width. You can use it for padding. You can use it for anything entirely, like anything at all, right? You just have to declare that property on the transition property value, and then do your animation. Let's try it on width. This item A, item 1, let me use just item 1. Okay, let me use this particular item 2. I think is the one in the middle. So this item 2, I want to make it that when I hover, it's going to do some things. But then this one is not going to be color. It's going to be the width. Transition property width. Sorry. just the width. Sorry. Then transition duration. I want it to last for 2 seconds. Then the transition timing function. Yeah, let's use isIn. Let's just use isIn. And then transition delay. Well, I don't need transfer. I don't want it to delay for now. It's not a must you're going to use delay. Probably when you want to add a delay. So now I won't see this in action till I probably use or put some pseudo classes to listen to the states, right? So I can also apply pseudo classes on any elements. It's not only for buttons and attacks. Can use it for divs also. So whenever I hover, I want it to change the width to 200px because I'm only targeting the transition for width. Let me just change only the width. So when I hover, change the width from 100px to 200px. Now let's see it in action. If I hover, you see, changes the width from 100px to 200px. Now if I stop hovering, it goes back to 100px. Hover again. Yeah. So I can also include the height. Let me make the height to be, the height was 100. Let's make it 150. And then for this height to work, I need to include it here. That's for we to see the height in action. I need to include it here. So we are now listening to width and height property. Now when I go back, if I hover, you see it's increasing height too. If I stop hovering, if I hover again, stop hovering. So both the width and height are increasing when I hover. So yes, now you know that it's not only restricted to colors. You can apply for width. You can use it for any value at all. So yes, that will probably be the last thing we'll be talking about today. If you have any question, this is a good time to bring them up, ask. Wait, I wasn't muted all while, right? I'm surprised that no one is asking any question. If you have any question, this is a good time to ask. Shorthand for transition. Yes, we have a shorthand for transition. Why I did what I did is because I need to like explain what each one does here. Just like we have a shorthand for padding and margin. Remember, you have padding top, padding bottom, padding left, and padding right. You can short it here to just contain on one declaration. The same thing, we can do it for transition in CSS. So all these three properties can be written in one line, like we just transition. Then the first thing is the property, and the property is no. But when you are doing this, okay, let's say we are just targeting height. Let's just say we're targeting width. When you're putting it in one line, focus on the first property, which is transition property. So we're going to write width. The next thing, sorry, there's no comma. The next thing is the duration, transition duration. Then the other one is the timing function, which is in. Okay, we have a fourth one. That fourth one is the delay. That's what we want to have a delay. We can actually put a delay of 5 seconds. So now we have 4 values here. First one is the property, transition property. Second one is the transition delay, duration, which is this. Third one is the transition timing function. Fourth one, which is not compulsory, is the transition delay. Okay, now if we go back, let me comment out this. Comment it out. And then hover. Wait, what? Why are we? Oh yeah, I set to 5 seconds delay. I'm sorry. I've forgotten that I used 5 seconds delay. But let's see the 5 seconds delay in action then. Now hover. It will take 5 seconds before it starts animating the width. You can see it now, right? Now when I stop hovering again, it will take 5 seconds before it goes back to the original width. Yeah, but this 5 seconds is just it's just doing too much. Now you can see that the height wasn't transitioning. Yeah, it's just the height is just going up and down immediately. Yeah, because I didn't include the height here. So for us to do that, we are going to, by the end, when we are done writing all the properties we need for width, put a comma, then do the same thing for height. You write your height. I want my height to, I want the duration to be 2 seconds, and I want the timing function to be isIn. Now, if I go back, it's going to work for height. You can see now, yeah, if I stop hovering, it doesn't work for height. So yeah, this is how to write it in one line. If you have other ones, you can actually keep writing them, comma, probably want to do the color too, you can actually change the timing function. It's not must you are going to use the same duration for width and height. You can, you know, increase the duration. Let me even increase the duration for height to 5 seconds. You can see that width will take 2 seconds to animate or transition. Height will take 5 seconds to do this one. You can see that the height is still moving. It's taking 5 seconds. Now when I go back, width will just finish within 3 seconds, but the height will take 5 seconds before it finishes. So that's that. Any other question? No questions? All right, so I want someone to like volunteer and then give your insights or context, or just explain briefly the topics we talked about today before we wrap it up. Yes, you can use different transition timing function. It's not must you're going to use isIn. I can use isIn for width. I will use isIn and out for height, or just any other one. We have a lot of them. We have linear. I can use anything I want. Amos, please bail me out, right? Just highlight the topics we talked about this evening, and then let's wrap it up. Amos, you there? Joshua? Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Okay, no problem. But I believe that everything we talked about this evening was well accepted and assimilated. So if you have further questions, we have a Slack channel. Drop your questions on there. I will be readily available to, you know, answer them. Thank you all. Alex, if you're here, you can take over.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. John, for this amazing section. I said I wanted to say something this when we started. So it's about the boot camp. So after all this lecture, after we cannot get to the end of content because it's keep evolving. So after this whole lecture and stuff like this, so we are going to start a boot camp. And before you can get into the boot camp, you have to complete some criteria. You have to get to some certain skill level. And before you can get to the skill level, you have to attend classes, you have to do your assignment. So I plead that you guys attend classes, you guys do assignments, and submit it early for you to join the boot camp. So that's all. I hope you guys understand what I said. Okay, thank you, guys. That will be all for today. Thank you.